Have you ever wondered what it truly means to be the kind of woman God values? In a world obsessed with appearances, success, and fleeting trends, many women struggle to understand their real worth. Society tells them that beauty, status, and independence define their value. But what if everything you've been told is wrong? The Bible reveals a completely different perspective, one that goes beyond temporary standards and speaks of an eternal, unshakable worth. God has already outlined what makes a woman truly valuable, and his definition is far more powerful than anything the world has to offer. Proverbs 31 isn't just a poetic description, it's a divine blueprint. It describes a woman of strength, wisdom, and purpose, a woman whose life is marked by faith, integrity, and deep devotion to God. But let's be honest, many women feel overwhelmed when they read about her. Is she even real? Is it possible to live up to this high standard? The truth is, God isn't calling you to be perfect, he's calling you to be faithful. And when you understand what he truly desires, you'll realize that this isn't a burden, it's a blessing. But here's the real question. Do you align with what God wants, or have you been shaped by what the world demands? Because the answer to this will determine whether you are walking in divine purpose or simply following empty ideals. This video is going to break down, step by step, what it means to be the kind of woman that pleases God. By the end, you won't just understand Proverbs 31, you'll see how to apply these timeless truths in your life today. And now, I want to hear from you. What do you believe is the most important quality of a godly woman? Leave your answer in the comments. While you're here, if you believe in the power of faith, Jesus Christ, and the truth of the Bible, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss content that strengthens your walk with God. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you see your role in God's plan. The Bible describes a virtuous woman as someone whose worth exceeds that of the most precious stones. But what does that really mean? In a world that often values appearance, wealth, and status above all else, God teaches us that true value comes from within. Proverbs 31:10 states, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." This isn't just poetic language. It's a powerful reminder that a woman's real worth is determined by her character, her faith, and her devotion to God. The world may chase after beauty that fades, but God honors the beauty of a heart that seeks him. A woman of great value is not defined by society's expectations, but by how closely she aligns with biblical principles. And that is a value that no amount of money can buy. Her strength isn't in worldly power, but in her unwavering faith. Think about Esther, a woman whose worth wasn't in her royal position but in her obedience to God. She risked her life to save her people, proving that true value is found in courage and righteousness. Similarly, Ruth, a woman who had lost everything, still chose to follow God's path, displaying loyalty and trust. These women weren't praised for their physical beauty, but for their inner strength and devotion. That's the kind of worth Proverbs 31 speaks about. A woman whose presence brings light into the lives of those around her because she is deeply rooted in her faith. Her strength comes from knowing that God is her foundation, her guide, and her ultimate provider. The world often tells women that their value depends on their success, social status, or even the opinions of others. But the Bible flips that narrative completely. A woman of great value doesn't seek approval from people. She seeks to please God. She knows that her worth isn't based on temporary things, but on eternal principles. Jesus Christ himself highlighted the importance of inner beauty when he said in Matthew 5:8, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." This purity isn't just about actions, but about a heart that is constantly seeking righteousness. She doesn't compare herself to others because she understands that God has uniquely designed her with a purpose that no one else can fulfill. Now let's get practical. What does this look like in daily life? A woman of great value is someone who lifts others up instead of tearing them down. She speaks with kindness, acts with integrity, and serves those around her with a heart full of grace. She doesn't have to chase after recognition because her actions naturally reflect God's presence in her life. Think about a mother raising her children with patience and love, or a wife who supports and encourages her husband, or a single woman who dedicates her time to serving others. Each of these women reflects the value that Proverbs 31 speaks about, not because of their status, but because of their heart. But here's the real challenge. How can one develop this kind of value? It starts with a relationship with God. No one becomes a Proverbs 31 woman overnight. It takes daily surrender, prayer, and a commitment to live according to His word. The good news? God doesn't require perfection. He requires faithfulness. When a woman seeks Him first, everything else falls into place. And this is just the beginning. Because as we move forward, we will see that a woman of great value is also a woman who brings trust, stability, and blessings into the lives of those around her. Trust is one of the most precious foundations in any relationship, and Proverbs 31 paints a powerful image of a woman whose husband fully trusts her. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Proverbs 31:11. This verse reveals something profound. A woman of great value isn't just admired, she is trusted. Her presence brings security, stability, and peace. Her dedication to her home, her faith, and her loved ones makes her a pillar of strength. She isn't someone who seeks personal gain at the expense of others. Instead, she is reliable, honest, and unwavering in her commitment. And this trust isn't built overnight. It is cultivated through consistency, wisdom, and godly character. A dedicated woman doesn't waver when difficulties arise. Consider Sarah, the wife of Abraham, who followed him into the unknown simply because she trusted God's plan. Her dedication was not just to her husband, but to God's divine purpose. This kind of commitment is rare in a world where people often give up at the first sign of struggle. Yet the Proverbs 31 woman remains steadfast. Her husband trusts her, not just because of what she does, but because of who she is. Someone whose faithfulness reflects the heart of Christ. She doesn't deceive, manipulate, or act selfishly. Instead, she prioritizes righteousness, ensuring that those around her feel safe and supported. Dedication goes beyond marriage. It is a reflection of a heart surrendered to God. A woman who dedicates herself to her faith walks with integrity in every area of her life. Whether she is single, married, a mother, or a leader, her commitment is evident. She prays not only for her own needs, but for others. She serves without seeking applause. She uplifts those who are weary and offers wisdom to those who seek guidance. Jesus himself demonstrated ultimate dedication when he sacrificed his life for us. In the same way, a godly woman sacrifices her time, energy, and resources to bring good to those she loves. Proverbs 31:12 confirms this. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Let's bring this into practical terms. Imagine a woman who speaks life into her home rather than negativity. When challenges arise, she doesn't complain, she prays. When conflicts surface, she seeks peace instead of fueling division. Her dedication isn't passive, it's active. She works diligently, ensuring that her family experiences love, encouragement, and spiritual guidance. Think about Mary, the mother of Jesus. Her trust in God's plan was unwavering, even when faced with the greatest trials. This level of trust and dedication doesn't just benefit her, it strengthens everyone around her. But how does one become this kind of woman? It starts with faith. Trust in God leads to trustworthiness in relationships. Dedication to Him produces dedication in daily life. A woman of God doesn't strive to be perfect. She strives to be faithful. And as she deepens her relationship with Jesus Christ, she naturally becomes a source of strength, wisdom, and stability. This is the kind of woman whose presence transforms lives. And as we move forward, we'll see that her value isn't just in her trustworthiness, it's also in her ability to work hard and provide for those she loves. A Proverbs 31 woman is not idle. She is a woman of action, diligence, and strategy. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. Proverbs 31:13. This means she actively pursues resources, invests time in her work, and ensures that her household is well provided for. Unlike the world's perception that success comes only from external achievements, the Bible highlights that true success is found in diligence and faithfulness to God's calling. A hardworking woman understands that everything she does, whether in the home, in business, or in ministry, has eternal significance when done for the glory of God. She is also resourceful, knowing how to manage and multiply what God has placed in her hands. Proverbs 31:14 describes her as like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. This imagery is powerful. It shows a woman who is strategic, forward-thinking, and not afraid to take initiative. She doesn't wait for opportunities to come to her. She actively seeks them. Think about Lydia in the New Testament, a woman who was both a devoted believer and a successful businesswoman. She sold fine purple fabrics, a trade that required skill and wisdom. Yet her greatest wealth was not in her merchandise, but in her faith. Like Lydia, the Proverbs 31 woman uses her gifts not just for personal gain, but to bless others. Her hands are always at work, and her efforts extend beyond mere survival. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household. Proverbs 31:15. This verse reflects not just physical labor, but spiritual diligence. She wakes up early, not just to prepare meals, but to seek God's presence before the day begins. A woman who prioritizes prayer and wisdom before making decisions becomes unstoppable in everything she does. Whether she is managing a household, leading a company, or serving in ministry, she understands that her strength comes from God. This is what sets her apart. She does not rely solely on her abilities, but on divine guidance. In today's world, we often see women balancing multiple responsibilities: career, family, ministry, and personal growth. The Proverbs 31 woman demonstrates that it is possible to thrive in all these areas when her foundation is built on faith. Her work is not driven by greed or societal pressure, but by a deep desire to provide and to be a blessing. Proverbs 31:16 states, "She considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard." This is a clear example of her entrepreneurial spirit. She is wise in her investments, careful in her choices, and diligent in her actions. She does not waste resources but multiplies them through wisdom and effort. But how can modern women apply this principle? It begins with recognizing that work, whether in the home, in the workplace, or in ministry, is a gift from God. Colossians 3:23 reminds us, "And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men." This mindset transforms labor into worship. A woman who works with purpose and passion reflects the glory of God in everything she does. Her diligence is not just about success, it's about service. And as we move forward, we will see that her hard work is balanced by a heart of generosity and compassion for those in need. A woman of God is not only hardworking, but also deeply compassionate. Proverbs 31:20 tells us, "She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reached forth her hands to the needy." This means that true greatness is not measured by what one accumulates, but by what one gives. A Proverbs 31 woman understands that her blessings are not just for her benefit, but for the good of others. She embodies the heart of Christ, who himself declared in Acts 20:35, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Her generosity is not driven by obligation but by love. She does not give merely to be seen. She gives because she knows that every act of kindness reflects the character of God. Compassion is more than just giving material things. It is about seeing people the way Jesus Christ does. Think of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:25-37. Others passed by the wounded man, but the Samaritan stopped, cared for his wounds, and provided for him. This is the kind of love that a Proverbs 31 woman embodies. She doesn't close her heart to the suffering of others. Instead, she reaches out, offering comfort, support, and encouragement. Whether through a kind word, a meal, or a helping hand, she becomes an instrument of God's love. Her generosity is an extension of her faith. Because she trusts in God's provision, she is not afraid to give freely. The beauty of this generosity is that it creates a ripple effect. When a woman of God serves others, she inspires those around her to do the same. A mother who teaches her children to give to the needy raises a generation that values kindness over selfishness. A woman who encourages her friends to serve their community plants seeds of faith in their hearts. In Matthew 25:40, Jesus says, "Verily I say unto you, Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Every act of love, no matter how small, is seen and honored by God. Generosity is not about wealth, it is about willingness. A Proverbs 31 woman may not have much in material riches, but she has a heart full of love to give. Sometimes, the greatest gift is a listening ear, a sincere prayer, or simply being present for someone who is struggling. Even in difficult times, she remains a giver. She understands that when she pours into others, God fills her cup in ways she never imagined. Proverbs 11:25 reminds us, "The generous soul will be made rich, and he who waters will also be watered himself." Giving is not a loss. It is an investment in God's kingdom. But where does this generosity come from? It comes from a deep connection with God. When a woman seeks Him daily, her heart naturally overflows with love and compassion. She does not give out of pride, but out of obedience. She understands that everything she has, her time, her resources, her talents, are gifts from God meant to be shared. And as we continue, we will see that her wisdom and prudence make her an even greater blessing to those around her. A Proverbs 31 woman is not only hardworking and generous, but also wise in her words and actions. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. Proverbs 31:26. This verse reveals a crucial truth. Wisdom is not just about knowledge, but about knowing how and when to speak. A godly woman understands the power of her words. She doesn't speak impulsively, nor does she allow gossip, anger, or negativity to control her tongue. Instead, she speaks life, encouragement, and truth. Her words reflect the wisdom of the Bible, guiding others toward righteousness and inspiring faith in those who listen. Wisdom and kindness must go hand in hand. It is possible to speak the truth yet lack grace. A woman of God is careful to ensure that her words uplift rather than tear down. Proverbs 15:1 reminds us, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." She understands that harsh words can destroy relationships, while words spoken with kindness can bring healing. Consider Abigail, who in 1 Samuel 25 prevented King David from acting out of anger by speaking with wisdom and humility. She diffused a dangerous situation with her discernment, proving that a wise woman has the ability to bring peace even in the midst of conflict. True wisdom doesn't come from books or personal experience alone. It comes from a deep relationship with God. James 1:5 states, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally." A Proverbs 31 woman prays. Before she speaks, she asks God for guidance in her conversations, whether with family, friends, or even strangers. She doesn't use her words to manipulate or control, but to build and bless. Her wisdom isn't just in what she says, but also in what she chooses not to say. She knows that silence, when used rightly, can be just as powerful as words. This wisdom also manifests in her ability to make sound decisions. She is prudent in her choices, thinking ahead and seeking God's direction. Whether it's in financial matters, raising children, or dealing with daily challenges, she applies biblical principles to every aspect of her life. She doesn't rush into decisions out of fear or pressure, but moves with discernment. Proverbs 14:1 states, "Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands." A godly woman builds, she doesn't destroy. Her wisdom strengthens her home, her relationships, and her walk with Christ. But how does one grow in this kind of wisdom? It starts with seeking God daily. A Proverbs 31 woman spends time in the Word, allowing Scripture to shape her thinking. She surrounds herself with godly counsel, learning from those who walk in faith. She disciplines herself to pause before speaking, to listen before responding, and to pray before making decisions. Her wisdom is not her own. It is a gift from God, refined through faith and obedience. And as we move forward, we will see that this wisdom also prepares her for the future, ensuring that she and her loved ones are ready for whatever comes their way. A Proverbs 31 woman does not live in fear of the future because she prepares wisely for what is to come. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Proverbs 31:21. This verse speaks of a woman who is forward-thinking, diligent, and resourceful. She doesn't wait for hardships to come before taking action. She anticipates them and makes sure her loved ones are protected. Her wisdom is not just about spiritual matters, but also about practical living. Whether it's managing finances, securing provisions, or ensuring her home is in order, she moves with foresight and discernment. Preparation is a sign of faith, not fear. Many people worry about what the future holds, but a woman of God entrusts her plans to Him while doing her part. Think about Noah. God gave him instructions to build the ark long before the flood came, Genesis 6:14-22. His obedience and preparation saved his family. In the same way, a Proverbs 31 woman listens to God's guidance and acts accordingly. She knows that challenges will arise, but instead of being caught off guard, she takes proactive steps. Whether it's setting aside resources, nurturing her family's faith, or strengthening her skills, she is always one step ahead. Her preparation is not just for physical needs, but also for spiritual battles. Ephesians 6:11 tells us, "Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." A woman of faith doesn't only stockpile food or save money, she also invests in prayer, studying scripture, and teaching her family how to stand firm in faith. She prepares her home not just with material necessities, but with an atmosphere of peace, wisdom, and godly instruction. She ensures that when trials come, her household is spiritually covered, just as they are physically protected. This preparedness also extends to her attitude toward work and responsibility. Proverbs 31:22 states, "She maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple." This imagery conveys dignity, excellence, and careful planning. A Proverbs 31 woman does not live carelessly. She values what she has and manages it well. She invests in quality rather than wastefulness, whether in relationships, finances, or time. She understands that planning today ensures stability tomorrow. This is not about living in anxiety, but about walking in wisdom. But how can one develop this mindset? It begins with asking God for guidance in decision-making. James 1:5 reminds us, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God." A Proverbs 31 woman seeks divine wisdom before making plans. She does not live in fear, but in faith, trusting that God equips her for every challenge. And as we continue, we will see that her careful preparation leads to something even greater: honor and recognition from those who witness her faithfulness. A Proverbs 31 woman does not seek recognition, yet it comes to her because of her faithfulness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Proverbs 31:28. This verse highlights an important truth. When a woman walks in obedience to God, those around her cannot help but see the impact of her life. She doesn't demand appreciation or seek validation from the world, but the fruit of her labor speaks for itself. Her family, friends, and community recognize the depth of her wisdom, kindness, and dedication. She is honored not because she seeks applause, but because her life is a testimony of God's grace. This honor is not given lightly. It is earned through years of love, sacrifice, and unwavering faith. Think of Hannah, the mother of Samuel. She endured years of barrenness, prayed fervently for a child, and dedicated Samuel to the Lord. 1 Samuel 1:27-28. Her faithfulness did not go unnoticed. She was honored as the mother of one of Israel's greatest prophets. In the same way, a Proverbs 31 woman earns respect through her actions. Whether as a mother, wife, friend, or mentor, her influence leaves a lasting mark. She builds up those around her, and in return, they bless her with words of gratitude and admiration. The verse continues, "Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all." Proverbs 31:29. This doesn't imply competition, but rather distinction. A godly woman stands out because she walks in divine wisdom. She doesn't compare herself to others. She focuses on fulfilling the unique calling God has placed upon her life. She isn't trying to meet society's expectations. She is striving to be who God created her to be. And because of that, she is elevated in the eyes of those who witness her journey. Recognition isn't the goal, but it becomes the natural result of a life lived in righteousness. But what does this look like in daily life? A woman of God receives honor not just through grand achievements, but through the little consistent acts of love and faith. The prayers she prays over her family, the patience she demonstrates, the wisdom she shares. These small, everyday choices accumulate into a legacy of honor. She doesn't demand respect, she inspires it. When people think of her, they don't just remember what she did. They remember how she made them feel safe, loved, encouraged, and closer to God. That is what makes her truly praiseworthy. So how can one become this kind of woman? It starts with humility. Proverbs 22:4 reminds us, "By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches, and honor, and life." A woman who seeks God above all else will naturally be lifted up in due time. She doesn't chase recognition, it follows her. And as we continue, we will see that her true beauty comes not from external qualities, but from her unwavering devotion to God. The world often measures a woman's worth by her appearance, charm, or accomplishments, but the Bible makes it clear. True beauty is found in the fear of the Lord. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Proverbs 31:30. This verse reveals a powerful truth. Everything external fades, but a heart devoted to God remains eternally valuable. A Proverbs 31 woman is not defined by how she looks or what she owns, but by her reverence for God. Her faith shapes her identity, her decisions, and the way she impacts those around her. She understands that real strength and beauty come from walking in obedience to God's word. Fearing God doesn't mean living in terror. It means living with deep respect, awe, and surrender to His will. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the angel Gabriel told her she would give birth to the Son of God, she didn't resist or question God's plan. She humbly accepted it, saying, "Be it unto me according to thy word." Luke 1:38. That's the kind of faith that defines a godly woman. She doesn't seek approval from the world because she is fully anchored in God's purpose for her life. She trusts in His wisdom, follows His guidance, and submits her plans to His perfect will. A woman who fears the Lord is unshakable. No matter what trials she faces, she remains steadfast because her confidence is not in herself, but in God. Psalm 112:7 says, "She shall not be afraid of evil tidings. Her heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord." This kind of faith brings peace in the midst of storms, courage in the face of uncertainty, and wisdom in difficult decisions. She doesn't allow fear or doubt to control her life. Instead, she walks in the assurance that God is with her, guiding her steps. The world may celebrate temporary things, but she builds her life on an unchanging foundation: God's truth. Her reverence for God is reflected in everything she does. It shapes her marriage, her relationships, her work, and even how she raises her children. She teaches by example, showing others that true fulfillment is found in seeking God above all else. Proverbs 9:10 states, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." A woman who fears God doesn't just have knowledge, she has divine wisdom that influences every aspect of her life. She approaches challenges with faith instead of panic, responds to conflict with grace instead of anger, and loves others with a heart transformed by God's presence. But how does one develop this kind of fear of the Lord? It starts with a daily pursuit of His presence. A Proverbs 31 woman prays, studies the Word, and surrounds herself with godly influences. She prioritizes spiritual growth over worldly distractions. She understands that her greatest beauty is not in her outward appearance, but in a heart fully surrendered to God. And as we move forward, we will see that this fear of the Lord not only shapes her personally, but also grants her honor and recognition in the eyes of others. A Proverbs 31 woman doesn't seek recognition, yet her good works naturally bring honor. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:31. This verse reveals a powerful principle. When a woman walks in faithfulness, wisdom, and dedication, her impact cannot be hidden. Gates in biblical times were places of judgment, leadership, and public affairs, meaning her influence reaches beyond her home and into the community. She doesn't need to boast about her achievements. Her life speaks for itself. Her faithfulness, to God, and her commitment to righteousness make her a respected figure in society. This kind of honor is not superficial. It is a reflection of a life well lived. Think about Deborah, the judge and prophetess of Israel, Judges 4-5. She didn't chase after power or recognition, yet she became a leader because of her wisdom, courage, and faith. People came to her for guidance because they saw the presence of God in her life. In the same way, a Proverbs 31 woman gains public recognition not through self-promotion, but through the undeniable testimony of her character. She is admired not just for what she does, but for who she is, a woman of integrity, faith, and strength. Her recognition comes not only from people, but from God himself. Jesus said in Matthew 6:4, "Thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly." A woman who serves, prays, and loves with sincerity will be exalted in God's perfect timing. She doesn't need to fight for attention because the Lord himself ensures that her faithfulness is seen. Whether she is a mother raising godly children, a businesswoman operating with honesty, or a leader serving with humility, her works will eventually be acknowledged. The impact she leaves is lasting because it is built on eternal principles. Public recognition is not about fame, it's about influence. A woman of God uses her position to inspire and lead others toward righteousness. She isn't concerned with worldly status, but with making a difference in the lives of those around her. Proverbs 3:4 states, "Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man." A woman who walks in truth and mercy will naturally gain favor, not because she seeks it, but because God's light shines through her. So, how does one reach this level of honor? It begins with daily faithfulness in small things. Luke 16:10 reminds us, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much." A Proverbs 31 woman doesn't wait for a grand moment to prove her worth. She lives in obedience every day, trusting that God will elevate her in his perfect time. And with that, we have reached the final quality of the woman that God honors. But before we conclude, let's take a step back and reflect on the powerful foundation that makes all of this possible. Now that you've seen what truly defines a godly woman, it's time to reflect. Which of these qualities do you already embody? And which ones do you feel God is calling you to develop? Remember, no one is perfect, but every step taken in faith brings you closer to the woman God designed you to be. Living by Proverbs 31 isn't about pressure, it's about purpose. When you align your life with His Word, you walk in strength, wisdom, and divine favor. So tell me, which trait from Proverbs 31 spoke to you the most? Was it her wisdom, her strength, her generosity, or her faith? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss content that deepens your faith. And before you go, I have something special for you. If you enjoyed this study, check out the next video on the screen now. It's going to take you even deeper into God's plan for your life. God bless you, and I'll see you there.